When my dad came back from Vietnam, they lived on base for a while in Kansas and then ended up moving home to Madison. And at that time, he was probably 22 or 23, and he decided to go to school. He recalls being in line to register for classes while my mom was in labor for me right across the street. So my dad was a non-traditional student. My mom remembers working somewhere in town making donuts to help support them while he was working on his education. And he became a business teacher. After my dad completed his degree, it was my mom's turn. And so she had 2 babies and went back to school. At that time, there were no online classes. You had to come to campus. So my mom, with 2 babies, drove to campus while my dad was working as a teacher, and she also finished her education degree. So many times as we were growing up, these pivotal moments would happen where you could just see the impact that my parents had on other people because they were teachers. My mom had a different dress for every letter of the alphabet. She sprayed perfume on her belly because her students would hug her and they loved how Mrs. Simon smelled. And you could just see the influence over years and years. Even adults, when they see my mom and they had her as a teacher, they say, "Mrs. Simon, I'm so happy to see you." And you can't help but be convicted by that. You can't help but grow up in that environment and then also want to lead a life that has that kind of purpose and significance. So I became a teacher too. I love everything about being in education. I loved being a teacher, and I love working in higher education administration. I love the undergraduate students, but I have a really special place in my heart for adult learners. I've been really convicted by developing programs that students who are working adults can complete, and making sure that policies enable adult students to go back to school, that there are services that are available to them in the evenings or on the weekends. I heard a quote once that said, "The goal is to plant trees under whose shade you never plan to sit." And I'm really convicted by that. I love work that is meaningful and important, and we get to work on things that shape people's lives. I can't imagine a job where you watch the clock and you wait to get off. I often look at the clock and think, there's not enough time left in the day to get things done. But knowing that our work is important and that it changes people's lives, I can't imagine doing anything different than that. A lot of times scholarships are meant for students like me who go right from high school to college, and the criteria for those scholarships are set up for that kind of student. My hope with this scholarship is that it rewards people who are like my parents, who have some work experience and decide to go back to college as an adult. And my hope is that this will make the financial burden of that a little bit easier so that they can go on and finish their degree and benefit their family in the same way that my parents have benefited theirs. I'm delighted to get to honor my parents by endowing a scholarship in their name, and they're delighted as well. I think that they were pretty tickled. I got to tell them for Christmas, you know, when your parents reach a certain age, they have everything they need and most of the things that they want. But to be able to honor them in this really unexpected way by gifting them a scholarship that acknowledges the hard work that went into their education, the way that they modeled education for their children, the way that we've been able to pay that forward in honor of my parents by endowing a scholarship in their name, it's amazing.